Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Brian Crazy. You're watching my brand, that from Brand of Wrestling and Entertainment here on YouTube.com and the World Wide Web since 2010, providing you with the wrestling news, reviews, rumors, and insight that you've grown accustomed to. And you saw the title of this video. I am back with my review of this week's edition of the longest-running weekly episodic television show in history. That's right, Monday Night Raw for Monday, February 25th, 2013. We start off Monday Night Raw with the chairman of the board, Vince McMahon, and then out comes Paul Heyman. Last week on Monday Night Raw, Vince McMahon let his intentions be known that he was going to be at Raw this week, and he wanted to fight Paul Heyman. He feels like Heyman is partially responsible for the kayfabe injuries he suffered, thus requiring him to have that hip surgery. The hip surgery was real, but the F5 from Brock Lesnar was a way to write him off television and incorporate it into the current WWE storyline. So looks like Heyman's actually going to have the upper hand on McMahon. He starts striking him with the crutch. McMahon ends up grabbing the crutch, turning the tables on Heyman. He ends up bashing him a couple good times with it, and then Brock Lesnar's music hits. Brock Lesnar makes his way down to the ring, and then it comes out Triple H. These two end up brawling. Triple H ends up throwing him into the ring post, ends up busting him wide open. I heard after Monday Night Raw went off the air, Brock Lesnar actually required stitches to close up that wound. I mean, there was a hell of a lot of blood. You could tell that they were trying to keep within the PG, so when they would show Brock Lesnar bleeding or try to show a pan of Brock Lesnar and Triple H fighting, they would either keep it far back so you really couldn't tell how bad it really was, or try to focus from one of the other angles, or you could even see when they were doing the close-ups, they were trying not to include his head. I mean, that's how much this guy was actually bleeding, and I'm sure they don't. Anybody that's watching at home with their families or their children, or any little guys that are watching, it's supposed to be a PG-rated show, so they're trying to keep it within those guidelines. But they are really pushing it to the limit these days, and that's what wrestling fans want. They want unpredictability. They want something that you don't see every week. I'm not saying they got to turn the show back into a bloodfest, but when you see just that little added element of realism and you really weren't expecting it, it makes for a good show. So Brock Lesnar's absolutely busted open. Triple H just, I mean, goes apeshit on me. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was just a great segment. I really like how it played off. And I assume that we're going to see Brock Lesnar versus Triple H at the WrestleMania 29 pay-per-view. It's the match that's been talked about since last year's SummerSlam, and it looks like they've started taking those initial steps to bring this match to fruition. Then we go into the first contest of the night. Aside the Vince McMahon, Paul Heyman encounter, we go into Ryback versus Dolph Ziggler. Ryback ends up not only overcoming Dolph Ziggler, but Big E Langston, their bodyguard, and AJ Lee, who were all interfering during this match. Ryback is successful and picks up the win in this contest. Then we go into Mark Henry versus the Great Khali. Last week, Mark Henry didn't want any part of the Great Khali. This week, he absolutely dominated and decimated Khali. In a few short minutes' time, Khali fell victim to another World's Strongest Slam. Then we go into the Miz TV segment. This was probably one of the best segments of the night. We had Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter come out. Alberto Del Rio came out. And just the promo that Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter cut, and Alberto Del Rio, his response, how emotional he got, how angry he got. I mean, it was just incredible television. That added element of realism, like I mentioned earlier on in the show, when you make it personal, when you can get people emotionally invested, when you can make it so real, they know it's a scripted show, but for a minute they step back and they're like, is this real, or is this guy really like breaking the fourth wall and he's telling us stuff he shouldn't be, or is he really supposed to be saying that? Is he allowed to say that? Those are the moments that I like the best. I mean, we've seen wrestling angles for years. We've seen wrestling angles play out and play out and play out. Unpredictability, something that's outside the wrestling box, something that could happen in real life that makes you, like I said, step back and go, well, could that really happen? Those are the angles that I really like. So this was a phenomenal promo. Great segment. Then we go into Randy Orton versus Cesaro. Now, this is a phenomenal match. I mean, these are two of my favorite athletes in WWE today. I'm a huge fan of Antonio Cesaro. I was a huge fan of him when he was known as Claudio Castagnoli down in ROH. When I first heard he was coming into the company, I was absolutely stoked, and he has not disappointed in his current WWE run. This match was phenomenal. It ended up ending when Cesaro went for the uppercut, and Randy Orton just caught him midair. I mean, just phenomenal finish to this match. Then we go into R-Truth versus Cody Rhodes. R-Truth and Damien Sandow had a little skirmish last week. This is after Damien Sandow took some liberties with R-Truth's former tag team partner, Kofi Kingston. R-Truth ended up picking up the win over Cody Rhodes. Then we go into Kane and Daniel Bryan versus the Primetime Players, but there's a kind of strange added stipulation in this match. Daniel Bryan is blindfolded, but he's got like a bag over his head, and Kane's got one arm tied behind his back. But somehow, some way, Kane and Daniel Bryan still pick up the win in this match. Kane hits the one-arm choke slam and ends up getting the win. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about this one. Then we go into Swagger versus The Miz. This is a great contest. Jack Swagger, I was really afraid when I heard the news last week that he ended up getting into some trouble in his personal life. He ended up getting pulled over. I guess he was arrested for DUI and also for being in possession of marijuana. Now, I know under WWE's current policy, marijuana is typically not a suspendable offense. They usually just issue a $1 fine. Now, I know this has happened to Randy Orton in the past and several other superstars, and I believe it's between $2,000 and $5,000. Now, the DUI, that's the thing I really have the problems with. You know, you get behind the wheel when you don't know what you're doing. Now, I'll be perfectly honest. I've smoked pot in the past. I'm sure plenty of people have. You don't become so impaired you can't do what you're doing. But when you drink alcohol and you're drunk enough to be arrested, obviously you are too impaired to be operating a vehicle, and not only are you putting your life in danger, you're putting somebody else's life in danger and somebody else's family in danger. That's the problem I have with that. But I'm a huge fan of Jack Swagger. I hope he gets that stuff straightened out, and I really hope that he's able to continue with this push that he's been receiving. I mean, Vince McMahon has given him a huge opportunity. That's what McMahon does. He gives people opportunities, and they have to seize that opportunity. And in the last few weeks, Jack Swagger has seized that opportunity. He's been playing his role incredibly, and it would be a shame if the ball got dropped at this point in time. After he made his return, after being regulated to the mid-card, after not being on TV for so long, it would be a damn shame. Swagger ended up picking up the win over The Miz. He was successful, and then we go into the main event. But before I go into the main event, WWE ran a promo tonight. Next week's Monday Night Raw will be a Raw old school. I really hope they do it like they did back in 2010. That was one of my favorite episodes of Monday Night Raw of all time. I really just love the old school Raw. I love the nostalgia factor. I love the legends. You know, it's just who I am. I mean, every wrestling fan is different. Everybody cheers for who they want to cheer for. They like who they want to like. They dislike who they want to like. I'm not telling you who you have to like or who you have to dislike by any means. All I say, and the constant message I try to include in these videos is respect the athletes. If they go out there and they put their neck on the line and they really try hard and they're really out there trying not only for themselves but for the fans in attendance, because yes, they get paid, but do you go to your job not to get paid? These guys are putting their neck on the line for us, and they deserve our respect. That's all I'm trying to say. So then we go into the main event: John Cena versus CM Punk. And me and JC Styles were talking. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get together for a review tonight, but we were talking. He still thinks the Money in the Bank 2011 match was the best match between Cena and CM Punk, or Money in the Bank 2011, excuse me. That's when he won the WWE title for the first time. He thought that was, one of the best matches. And in my personal opinion, I think tonight's match rivaled that. I think that was a great, great, great contest. And we saw some incredible spots. CM Punk hit a pile driver. John Cena hit a Hurricane Rana. He came off the top rope with the leg drop. Cena hit the power bomb. I mean, multiple transitions from the STF to the Anaconda Vice. Multiple false finishes. I mean, it was just a great match. It was very well booked. It was very well laid out. And I really assumed if The Undertaker was going to make his return tonight, we were going to see The Undertaker possibly come out and cause some problems for CM Punk, especially after Punk cut a promo a little bit earlier on the night that I neglected to mention until this point. He cut a promo talking about how he's God and this, that, or the other. I thought, oh, Undertaker's going to come out and cut some sort of promo about he's just a man walking among mortals, but he's a phenom. I don't know exactly, but, just from random thoughts, being a wrestling fan and watching the product for so long. Or I thought an angle based on respect. Undertaker's all about respect, and CM Punk has desperately been seeking that respect. I thought that would be great. Or possibly maybe Cena and Punk can't beat one another, because now the face has gotten over on the heel. That angle kind of feels like it's over. Cena finally defeated Punk. For so long, Cena could not get that victory over Punk, and I thought that would have been an interesting angle to continue after WrestleMania, after The Rock is out of the picture, resume that rivalry between CM Punk and John Cena, or possibly have a draw and then have a three-way dance at WrestleMania. But three-way dances really don't work so well at WrestleMania. WrestleMania is really built around that big main event match, that one-on-one match, those two larger-than-life superstars. So, guys, these are just some of my quick thoughts, some of my quick opinions on tonight's Monday Night Raw. I'm sure I could talk for probably another 25 minutes. But at this point in time, I'm whooped. I got to get to bed. Got a lot of things to do tomorrow, but I want to get this video uploaded for you guys, and I want you guys to leave your comments below. You got to hear some of my thoughts. Now it's up to you guys, my fans and subscribers. Like always, I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. It would not be possible without you. And I have some real exciting news over on our main channel, F and True Wrestling. We have been partnered with Machinima. I signed the contract, and I am really excited that we will be bringing you Machinima content. If you guys aren't familiar with Machinima, Machine meets Cinema, it's Machinima. It is gameplay. It's all kinds of cool stuff that we will be bringing you over on F and True Wrestling. So if you're a subscriber only here on Fight Nation, please subscribe over on F and True Wrestling for additional content and for the F and brand of wrestling and entertainment here on YouTube.com and the World Wide Web. My name is Brian Crazy. I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.